The New Zealand Wine Growers Biosecurity team has been working hard to ensure biosecurity is a core part of business as usual for growers in New Zealand. Biosecurity is about protecting the New Zealand wine industry from the risks posed by unwanted pests and diseases, and is essential to the ongoing sustainability of the industry. As a grower, you will have to complete the Biosecurity Vineyard Register each year. While completing the register, you will now be asked if your vineyard has a biosecurity plan. New Zealand Wine Growers has a template you can use for this purpose included in our biosecurity resources. This exemplar video describes how you complete the template and some of the actions you can take. This is an example only, and each individual vineyard and grower should complete a plan to suit their own circumstances. The Biosecurity Plan template comes as a hard copy document that we can provide to growers, or an electronic copy that can be downloaded from our website or emailed to you. The document opens with a list of New Zealand's most unwanted vineyard pests and diseases, an overview of the Biosecurity Plan, and some general biosecurity information. If you have been sent or picked up a hard copy, it is easy enough to work through the actions and either note or tick off, or acknowledge each point, then comment on the steps required in the space provided. The steps are the same in the electronic document with drop box options and text boxes that you can fill out. Let's move on to the actions outlined in the Biosecurity Plan template. The first action is promoting biosecurity awareness. Generally, raising the awareness of people entering your vineyard costs very little, but could prove vital in protecting your site from an incursion of a new pest or disease. Things to consider include having clear signage at vineyard entry points, displaying biosecurity awareness material, which is available from New Zealand wine growers, and knowing who to call if you notice something unusual. One of the main points of this action is to make sure contractors and staff are trained, engaged, and know your expectations. After considering each point, note any actions that you need to take to address concerns. Action 2 addresses making sure you brief visitors, personnel, and contractors. Things to consider include visitor access, security, including biosecurity as part of your site induction processes, and compliance with any biosecurity protocols put in place at your vineyard. Once again, after considering each point, note any actions that you need to take. Action 3 deals with vineyard surveillance. Points covered include ensuring monitoring for pests and disease is carried out regularly. Crop scouts or staff can undertake this task. Make sure that the people undertaking the surveillance are familiar with the industry's most unwanted exotic pests and diseases, as well as the more common ones, and that they know how to report anything unusual to the Biosecurity New Zealand hotline. Developing pest and disease management plans should be a core part of work on vineyards, and working with others to ensure you keep up with best practices is also advisable. It is also a good idea to monitor other spaces on your site that are likely to harbour pests and disease. This could include shelter belts, amenity plantings, and vineyard outbuildings. Action 4 highlights vehicle and machinery management. Limiting the use of vehicles from off-site and recording or GPS tracking vehicle and machinery movements in the vineyard can help prevent vehicles and machinery from spreading pests or disease, or managing the spread if you have an issue. Make sure contract equipment and machinery is cleaned before entering the vineyard. Where it is used on multiple sites, staff should be more vigilant. It should be thoroughly inspected prior to use when it is new or brought in from overseas. It is a good idea to pay it forward, and if machinery is leaving to work on another vineyard, make sure it is clean before it goes. Action 5 covers managing biological materials, products, and supplies. Ensure all new vines are certified to the New Zealand Wine Growers Grafted Grapevine Standard. It is essential to limit the spread of grapevine leaf roll, associated virus 3. Inspecting new vines before planting is also recommended. Inspect amenity vegetation and plantings and remove any that are showing signs of disease. Recording inbound goods and biological material for traceability is also considered best practice. Also, check that you are not storing anything that might be a biosecurity risk, such as other harvested fruit or grapewood from vines that have been removed because of grapevine trunk diseases. Action 6 looks at stock management. Many vineyards graze stock over the winter, and the stock can introduce pests to the vineyard that may cost growers a significant amount to control over time. Make sure you know where any stock have come from and if there are any associated biosecurity risks. Be there when stock arrive on the vineyard and check for any issues. Consider quarantining before letting stock into your vineyard. There are also regulatory considerations. Make sure you are aware of your responsibilities. Once again, pay it forward and don't send stock to other farms or vineyards that could get a biosecurity issue from your property. Action 7. Install and maintain washdown facilities. Washdown facilities are an integral part of any vineyard's infrastructure. Make sure your site has an appropriate washdown facility. If you have not yet installed a washdown facility, planning to do so should be part of your long-term capital plan. It should be on a concrete pad and the runoff controlled. Ideally, the washdown should have a high-pressure hose water blaster, steam cleaner and compressed air. Make sure the washdown and sump are cleaned and maintained. Action 8. Consider tool and equipment hygiene. Where possible, tools should be assigned exclusively to a vineyard and cleaned and sanitized before use. Where any pests or diseases are present, like grapevine root disease or grapevine trunk disease, work from the least affected area to the most affected area within the block or vineyard. Known areas that are affected by disease should be identified, and the tools used should be thoroughly cleaned and sanitized after use. Contract labour who bring their own tools and cover several vineyards need to clean and sanitize tools prior to entering your vineyard. Tool cleaning should ideally be undertaken prior to entering the vineyard, in the block being worked in before leaving, or in the washdown area prior to starting a new block. Action 9. Managing biosecurity at harvest. Harvest is one time of the year when pressure of work makes biosecurity harder to manage, but tools like GPS tracking of machinery is making it easier and should be considered when updating systems to record the movement of vehicles and machinery to the harvest area. Some other key points are making sure all machinery, equipment and tools are thoroughly cleaned between vineyard sites. It is also important to limit the movement of people and vehicles into the harvest area. The Vineyard Biosecurity Action Plan. Once you have completed the action points, you can copy down the notes and comments to complete your action plan and implement over time. Remember, this is your action plan and it should be designed to fit with your vineyard and your particular situation. If you need any assistance, please contact the Biosecurity Team, New Zealand Wine Growers. They will be able to assist if you need any of the resources or help completing a plan.